Welcome to another update of For Love of Fantails. It's been quite a while since I have made any new videos. I had a very sad thing happen this past summer with my fish. If you remember, if you look at my more recent videos, I had my tiger lily and my JoJo. And unfortunately, I lost tiger lily a couple months back during the summer. We had this terrible storm. It was like a tropical storm. We had just flooding rain for a couple days. We have well water here, and we had so much rain I had not realized, but it affected the pH of our tap water, and it brought it down to a 5, which is very low for our tap water. And at the same time that was happening, we had our water heater break, our water heater broke, and my filter malfunctioned. So I had all these things going on at the same time. We had our electric flickering on and off, and so I ended up having a bacterial bloom in my fish tank. And as I was trying to get that under control, I was trying to do very frequent water changes, but very small ones, very small water changes, because I had no hot water to mix in with the cold, and I didn't want to bring the temperature down too quickly. And so I was doing that. I was waiting for a replacement filter to come in, and I had not realized how low my pH had gotten. And I should have been checking that. I was checking other parameters. I was checking for ammonia and everything else, which was fine, but I wasn't paying close enough attention to the temperature and pH. So to make a very long story short, I went to feed my fish one morning, and JoJo and Tiger Lily came swimming right over, put the food in, turned my back, and when I looked into the tank, Tiger Lily was swimming strangely, and she started to do a nosedive, and she was struggling. I had no idea what could have happened so quickly. So I started watching her, and I quickly did check the temperature. I realized the temperature was a bit low, quite a bit lower than it had been, and the pH, I had not realized till then that the pH had crashed. It had just crashed from all the rain we had. It was, of course, my tap water was down to a 5. My fish tank wasn't quite that low, but it was much too low. I have some buffer, which I put a little bit of buffer in, but you don't want to put a lot of buffer in. You don't want to raise the pH too quickly. So I was trying to do everything I could. I called my husband. He's had fish for a long time as well, before even I met him. And I tried everything, but within 15-20 minutes, she was just getting progressively worse. And it ended up that she died in my hand. I had my hand in the fish tank. She swam over, was kind of laying in my hand, and passed while she was in my hand. There was nothing more I could do for her. And I was devastated. I was very attached to Tiger Lily. I had her for about 2.5 years. She was 7.5 inches long. She used to eat out of my hand, and I was really upset and heartbroken. So I got my attention focused then on JoJo. I was worried about her having the same thing happen, but she was fine. She never did struggle or anything. She was much younger. She was a pretty juvenile at the time. So I was left with just JoJo. Called the fish store. Didn't want JoJo to be alone, so I waited until my tank the bacteria bloom was completely under control, and my tank was healthy again, and the temperature and pH were adjusted, came up some. I added a little bit more buffer till I got it, slowly raised it to where it was supposed to be. So I waited and waited with the fish stores. They kept saying they ordered fish and didn't have them, didn't have goldfish, didn't have fantail goldfish. So after about 2 weeks of this, I finally ended up, I only wanted one more, but I ended up rescuing 2 goldfish, very young goldfish, although they've grown quite a bit. This was just a couple months ago. And this one here is one of them. I named her Autumn. And if you look at her tail fins are kind of droopy. They're not quite right. And the other one is this one, whom I named Pumpkin. Pumpkin's tail, she's a fantail, but her tail is fused together mostly. There's just a little break in it. So both of these fish were kind of malformed fantails. I believe they're all three are females. I've grown to love them. And of course, there's Jojo in the back, and I was so heartbroken from losing Tiger Lily. I named Jojo. She was getting bigger now. Jojo didn't seem to just fit her like it did when she was real tiny. So I decided to name her also Tiger Lily after the fish that I lost. And of course I lost Lily around in January and February. My cute little white Aranda. She got a growth on her. And again, we tried to treat it. We did everything we could, but we couldn't. We just couldn't save her. So I was really depressed about it for a while. And I thought, boy, do I really want to have fish anymore? It's just too heartbreaking, because I really was attached to both of them, and I was especially attached to Tiger Lily. But it's taken me quite a few weeks. I'm finally starting to bond with the other two little fish. I'm starting to get very attached to them, and there was a little scuffling about when I first put the two new ones in. But they have all bonded really nicely. They love to just swim and play with each other and play together in the water. And once in a while they'll butt a little bit each other when they're being fed, but they've kind of stopped doing that now too. So these are the three I have now. I have Tiger Lily 2, my second Tiger Lily. Who was Jojo. So I have Tiger Lily and Little Autumn, and then I have Pumpkin in the back. So that is why I had not made an update for a while. I have learned some valuable lessons. First lesson, I think I'm always going to have some kind of spare filtration available. And secondly, I am going to monitor my temperature much more carefully. And this was summer. It was hot in here. It was pretty warm in our house. We had lost our electric a couple times with the storm. And it just was a shame that I had lost my filtration, and my hot water heater. Took a couple days for the hot water heater to be replaced. It was very unpleasant not having any hot water. So to try to get my bacterial bloom under control, I had to do frequent water changes. So what I was doing is doing them very frequently throughout the day, but very tiny ones, because I didn't want to drop the water temperature too drastically. But evidently I was not monitoring the temperature. I thought it was fine. But when I did take the temperature, when Tiger Lily first started struggling, the temperature was low. It had dropped quite a bit from the day before. So I don't know if it was a combination of the pH drop and the temperature that caused her to have a heart attack, or what exactly happened. Jojo was fine, and as you can see, of course I call her Tiger Lily now. There she is. She's doing just fine. And I have learned some valuable lessons from this. To always monitor and be very careful about the parameters in your tank. All the parameters, but don't neglect your pH and don't neglect the temperature. Anyway, everything's healthy again now, and I hope to be making more updates in the future. So enjoy the close-ups that I get. Take care.